Okay, I think we're going to start. So Daniel, do you want to go ahead and I'm going to, can't see you guys. There we go. We have 40 participants, and so we'll go ahead and get started. If you want to mute everybody except me, of course. Thank you all for being here today. 40 people is pretty good. I'm really excited to be your host today. And okay, so if I recall last week, Pauline, we did not do the Pledge of Allegiance, so I guess we're not doing that. It's just too much. Maybe we could build that in later and we could mute ourselves and say it to ourselves, but for now we're going to skip that. Anyway, my name is Barbara Horan. I'm happy to be here today and all month for April, unless I really suck at it, and then I'll be let go. But anyway, we're going to start now with Gene. Gene is going to announce his guest speaker he has, and they're going to shed some light on some great information for us. So we're going to let Gene go ahead and take it over for now.
Hi, Daniel. Is Christian on? Do you know?
I'm here, Gene.
Terrific. Okay. Yeah, it's with great pleasure this morning that I'll introduce our speaker. However, before I do, just a brief note. I know most everybody on this call has certainly invested in their realtor party to keep our advocacy and political action alive in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., and certainly in our local cities and county. But if you ever had a question about where that money goes, you're about to hear one of the best reasons for it right now. One of the reasons that we are considered an essential service at this point, and one of the reasons that so much good housing information and assistance and help, including the unprecedented pandemic unemployment insurance, which has never before been a thing. And if you're wondering why those things and why all the housing-friendly information is included in the most recent CARES Act, it's due to the intervention, the advocacy, and the lobbying and relationships that NAR has built up over the years and that CAR has built up in Sacramento. So another good reason to support your realtor party, because they are out there working for you. Now this morning, it really is a pleasure to introduce a young fellow that I've come to know. He's our Western Region Advocacy Representative and Liaison for the National Association of Realtors. And he provides regular updates to the GAD community on what's happening and analysis of the CARES Act and so forth. My pleasure to introduce Christian Heusrad. Christian, welcome to the West Coast this morning.
Hey, thanks so much, Gene. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. As Gene mentioned, I'm the political representative from NAR for California. So essentially, I'm the direct liaison from NAR to the state and local associations in your state. And I often provide federal policy updates on what we're up to in Washington. And so, as you might imagine, the past several weeks have been almost entirely focused on Washington's response to the COVID-19 crisis. So although I work in and around federal policy, I'm by no means a policy expert, but the good news is that we have a team of over 20 policy experts in our NAR office, working remotely now here in DC, ready to assist you all and our membership all across the country. So if I can't answer a question for you about any of these programs this morning, I can certainly put you in touch with someone who can. So really the most important thing folks need to know about what NAR is up to is that we have been working around the clock basically with policymakers here in Washington to ensure that the interests of realtors and their clients are protected in any federal action in response to the COVID-19 crisis. We've specifically been focusing on advocacy for self-employed individuals and small businesses, and have been advocating for relief in every emergency response package that's made its way through Congress and will continue to do so as additional economic stimulus packages are introduced. Additionally, you all should know that we've been in constant communication with our industry partners to ensure that we're on a united front in defending the real estate industry and minimizing transaction disruptions during what is a difficult time. So it's not just us, we're working with our partners as well to make sure that our voices are heard and that our priorities are being considered as this emergency legislation is created in Congress. NAR, like CAR, has launched a microsite that is serving as a centralized hub for all information and resources available for members during this crisis. That website is www.nar.realtor/coronavirus. Again, that is where I will direct all of you to for any of the information I'm about to talk about here. I'm going to forewarn you, I'm going to throw a lot of information out on this video chat right now, but again, it's all in writing at that website, at NAR's coronavirus website. So fear not, and if you can't find the information you're looking for there, I'm going to make sure that Jean sends out my contact information, my email address, my cell phone number. I am here as a concierge resource to all of you. So if you can't find what you're looking for, email me, text me, call me. I'm here to help you through this crisis. I'll also make a strong pitch for CAR's microsite as well, which you can find at the CAR.org website. They have a number of FAQs specific to California that are super helpful. I was just looking at it this morning, so I direct you that way as well. So today I'm going to talk about 5 main topics of NAR's federal advocacy over the last several weeks and how these efforts have impacted the real estate industry and hopefully will be of benefit to all of you. The 5 areas I'm going to talk about are the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which was passed into law on March 18th, the CARES Act, which was signed into law last Friday. We're going to talk a little bit about our advocacy efforts on the commercial real estate side of things. I'm going to chat about some breaking news we have about forthcoming legislation through Congress and what we're focusing on in terms of our priorities. And lastly, I'm going to make a quick pitch on NAR's Right Tools Right Now initiative and our COVID-19 hotline. So the first area I want to start with is on the Families First legislation that was passed on March 18th. If you recall, this was an $8 billion legislative package that not only provided for free COVID-19 testing nationwide, it also created and expanded emergency paid sick and family leave for workers affected by COVID-19, including those who are self-employed. So we worked aggressively to make sure independent contractors were included in that legislation. So most important for realtors and our members is that the legislation created a 100% refundable tax credit designed to provide a dollar for dollar offset for both small business owners, and independent contractors. So we're still waiting on a little more guidance from the Department of Labor on the details, but please know that brokers with employees as well as independent contractors will have access to a refundable, 100% refundable tax credit, once this crisis is over. The second topic I'm gonna kind of cover here, it probably has the bulk of the information that I'm gonna pass along to you, and that's on the topic of the CARES Act. This was the $2 trillion piece of legislation that was signed into law, not this past Friday, but the Friday before. It's the largest piece of legislation ever passed in American history. The bill is nearly 900 pages long. Our policy team is still working with federal agencies to clarify what some of the language within the bill meant. The Small Business Administration, the Department of Labor are still issuing guidance as we speak to get that clarification out there, not only for our members, for example, but also for the states that are going to be in charge of implementing many of the programs included in the legislation. But I'm gonna just give you a kind of quick overview of what the top takeaways are from the bill and what you should all know about it. Number one, Americans, depending on your adjusted gross income, are going to receive $1,200 and $2,400 checks, either in the mail or deposited into your bank account. So that's probably one of the most significant portions of the bill itself. Number two, most significant and beneficial to our brokers and independent contractors is the over $360 billion expansion of the Small Business Administration through 2 particular loan programs that I'll go into. For the first time ever as well included in this bill, independent contractors will be eligible for unemployment insurance. So I'll go a little bit further into that. I'm going to touch on the mortgage and eviction moratoriums included in this bill, as well as the mortgage relief for both single and multi-family property owners that have federally backed mortgages. I'll touch on credit scoring, student loans, early retirement withdrawals, and I'll also chat a quick moment on sort of the tax due date delays and how that will affect realtors. So the first and foremost, as I mentioned, there are $1,200 and $2,400 checks or deposits that are going to be going into taxpayers' coffers here within, hopefully, supposedly, according to the Treasury Department, the next 2 to 3 weeks. Essentially, individuals with adjusted gross incomes up to $75,000 a year will be eligible for the full $1,200 check. Married couples will be eligible for a $2,400 check as long as their adjusted gross income is under $150,000. And then there's also people who file as head of household, and they'll receive a $1,200 check as well. Single head of household filers, as long as their adjusted gross income is under $112,000 a year. So those checks, when this whole conversation began, Congress was talking about W-2 earners and tax filers. They weren't talking about independent contractors or 1099s. So NAR aggressively with our industry partners worked to make sure that 1099 employees would be included among those eligible for these checks, and so we were successful in that effort, and will hopefully be of a huge benefit to our members. I should also note that married couples or single head of household with children under the age of 17 will receive an additional $500 from the government for every child under the age of 17. So again, that's probably the most significant monetary portion of this legislation. For our membership, as I mentioned, the most important portion of the bill is probably the carve out for the $360 billion in aid for small businesses through the expansion of the Small Business Administration's loan programs. In addition to representing California, I also cover the 6 New England states as part of my role as NAR's political representative. Among those New England states, we have Senator Susan Collins from Maine, who is in charge of drafting the small business portion of this bill. 3 weekends ago, I had a member of Susan Collins' staff reach out to me to let us know that they were crafting the small business portion of the bill, and they wanted to run the language by us to see if we were comfortable in terms of whether our membership would be able to take advantage of these benefits. They sent us the language. We didn't like it. We revised it, and we made sure, literally NAR staff wrote the language that ensures in this bill that all independent contractors, sole proprietors, and those who work on commission would be eligible for the Small Business Administration loan relief. And so that was a huge victory for us, and just an example of when people invest in RPAC, this is the return on investment coming at you in this time of crisis. So the 2 main vehicles for these relief loans are as follows. They're the economic injury disaster loans, or EIDL loans, as well as the Paycheck Protection Program loans. So I'm going to talk about the EIDL loans first, and then I'll talk about the Paycheck Protection Program. For the EIDL, this is a loan program that was pre-existing. So small businesses have always been able to apply for EIDL loans up to $2 million. However, what the CARES Act does was it injected $10 billion to allow for up to $10,000 cash advances for small businesses, including independent contractors and sole proprietors, for any business with 500 or fewer employees. This $10,000 cash advance is forgivable if used for the intended purposes, which include paid sick leave, payroll, rent, mortgage payments, etc. These particular loans are intended to provide small businesses with quick, much needed relief within 3 days of application. And so, these loans themselves, we are recommending that realtors apply for first, because the money will be quicker than a regular SBA loan. And it's also being administered directly through the SBA. So in order to apply for this, realtors just need to go to the SBA's online portal for small businesses, click on the red banner at the top that says COVID-19 finance resources, and then apply right through the website. Now, that's one program. The second program is the Paycheck Protection Program. This is the $350 billion program that was created by the CARES Act. They're known as 7A loans, but the program itself is called the Paycheck Protection Program. You may have heard over the weekend, maybe yesterday, that there have been some glitches with this program, and we're hearing that from members across the country. Essentially, the Small Business Administration has never been equipped to provide more than about $30 billion in loans ever in the history of the SBA. They have now been injected with $350 billion worth of funding, and also directed to create a new lending program, essentially. And so, not completely surprising, the program has had a couple bumps along the way. And so I just want to kind of emphasize here that we are advising our members to be patient, but also persistent with their lenders on this. You may not get through on the first try, but we are advising people to keep on trying, and I'll tell you why. But before I get to that, I'll just say the Paycheck Protection Program, as I said, is $350 billion program. The loan amounts through this are 2.5 times the average salary expenditure per month for 2019, up to $10 million. These loans are also fully or partially forgivable if used for the intended purposes, which include payroll, rent, mortgage interest, utilities, etc. Again, the way by which these become forgivable are if the businesses maintain at least 75% of the same average payroll levels as in the previous year. Unlike the EIDL loan, this Paycheck Protection Program or 7A loan program, realtors have to go through SBA approved lenders for 7A loans. And how do you figure out who is a 7A lender? Either contact the lender with which you've done business before to see if they're approved, or you can go directly to the SBA website, click on the lender match portal, type in your zip code, and you'll find all the lenders in your area. For these Paycheck Protection Program loans, small businesses and sole proprietorships could start applying as of last Friday, April 3rd. Independent contractors and self-employed individuals can start applying this coming Friday, April 10th. Again, like I said, the process has been a bit slow. We've hit some bumps with some of the larger banks, including Wells Fargo, which hit an asset cap that had been placed on them by the Federal Reserve a couple years ago for some of their bad practices with regarding fake accounts they were opening. They hit their $10 billion asset cap by 5 p.m. last Friday. Bank of America, when it first started, was only allowing people who already had a loan through Bank of America to apply for this assistance. They've now removed that requirement after criticism. This is a brand new program, and so banks are adapting. Even the larger ones are having a bit of trouble adapting to this. And so that means especially the smaller community banks are also, facing some lag time here in terms of catching up with what the SBA is providing in terms of guidance, and also the processes by which each individual bank and lender is going to provide so that you can actually apply. So again, I just want to emphasize patience and persistence in those who are seeking out this relief. So that's the SBA program. The item I wanted to mention in terms of persistence is that, I got a lot of questions at the end of last week. Well, what if the $350 billion runs out? That's certainly a possibility. $10 billion in loans, or I think it was more than $10 billion, was actually allocated to small businesses by the end of Friday last week. What I'm now seeing, I just got a breaking news alert actually, while I've been talking here, is that it looks like Congress is going to move as soon as this Thursday to allocate an additional $250 billion of funding to supplement the already existing funding for programs like the Paycheck Protection Program and these EIDL cash advances. So fear not, NAR is going to keep pushing Congress and the administration to continue providing funding for these businesses. Typically, if our program runs out of funding, that's a good thing, because it means the program's working, and Congress typically will respond and supplement it with more funding. So it looks like we've already got more funding on the way. The other big benefit through the CARES Act is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program that was created by this legislation that provides for up to 39 weeks of unemployment insurance and includes independent contractors and sole proprietors for the first time. This program also injects an additional $600 on top of each state's basic unemployment assistance to provide extra cushion for those who are unemployed. The most important thing I can emphasize about this unemployment insurance is that it's going to be administered through the states. Each state is going to be different. The amounts provided in assistance will vary based on individual, will vary based off states. The states right now are preparing to sign agreements with the federal government. The federal government is going to provide the funding, and then the states are going to administer that funding. So I would overall just tell all of you to keep an eye on communications from SRCAR. As soon as California's Department of Labor releases guidance on how to apply, when to apply, etc., SRCAR will be the first ones to blast out that information so that members can start applying. We're expecting that it could take up to another week here to get these processes and the funding rolled out. So just hang in there for right now. And again, keep an eye on SRCAR's communications. To finish up with the CARES Act, I'm going to run through just a few more of the provisions so that you're aware. In terms of federally backed properties or properties with federally backed mortgages, there's now a foreclosure moratorium on all properties with federally backed mortgages like Fannie Freddie, HUD, VA for 60 days. And there's also a moratorium on evictions for 120 days. So again, that's just on federal properties with federally backed mortgages. That's not the same as the executive orders that have been coming out from Governor Newsom. So again, there's a moratorium on foreclosure, 60 days, evictions, 120. There's mortgage relief included in this bill. Those with single family mortgages through a federal agency or federal lender, they have an option to apply for up to 6 months of forbearance with the option for an additional 6 months on top of that. So these borrowers could potentially defer payments up to a full year. For multifamily borrowers, like our landlords, property managers, they have 90 days of forbearance available as long as they commit to freezing evictions during the time of that forbearance. So with that, you can kind of see there's a little bit of a disconnect between renters having 120 days of relief knowing they can't be evicted, whereas our property owners and landlords only have 90 days of mortgage relief. So that's a discrepancy that we're trying to fix and bring to parity in forthcoming legislation through Congress. So that is definitely a priority issue for us. Probably the most important thing I can pass along to folks is if you know people who need relief from mortgage payments, they need to contact their servicers immediately. You can't just stop paying. You actually have to call and request the forbearance. And unless you ask specifically at the end of the forbearance for any federally backed mortgages, you're going to have to pay those missed payments in a lump sum unless you ask specifically for it to be tacked on to the end of your loan term. So just something to keep in mind there. I should also mention on the mortgage topic that at NAR, worked aggressively over the last couple weeks to make sure that FHFA, HUD, VA would allow for the use of appraisal alternatives to reduce the need for appraisers to conduct interior property inspections given all the shelters in place and other restrictions. So now all the federal agencies are allowing for both desktop and exterior only appraisals on most mortgage transactions. Credit scores for anyone who requests forbearance. They will not be impacted in terms of their credit score with negative reporting. Anyone who requests forbearance will be listed as current, and that is for up to 120 days after the end of the national emergency, and applies to all furnishers across the board, not just federal lenders, for example. So that's some solid relief there included in this bill. On student loans, payments are suspended on student loans if you choose for up to 6 months without interest. And then our members also have the option, if needed, to take an early retirement withdrawal of up to $100,000 without incurring the 10% early withdrawal penalty. So again, that's just an additional option for folks. Finally, on taxes, the due date for taxes has been pushed to July 15th for quarterly filers, as are most of our members. The first quarter due date has been pushed to July 15th for federal taxes. Just know the second quarter is still due on June 15th. So just the second quarter date has not changed. For California state taxes, I believe, both first and second quarter have been pushed off to July 15th. I'm just going to finish up here by talking about the commercial front, what we see in terms of legislation coming down the line, and then I'm going to touch on right tools right now. So first, with commercial, you should all know that we have been working on lobbying the Treasury Department for deadline relief for 1031 like-kind exchanges, as well as opportunity funds. We've requested deadline relief for the 45-day identification and 180-day completion deadlines for 1031 like-kind exchanges. We've also asked for an extension of the 31-month working capital safe harbor provided to those developers using opportunity funds and engaging in development within opportunity zones. So we're going to keep working on that. We haven't heard from the Treasury Department yet, and it's not because we don't think they want to offer this relief. It's because they're focusing on getting 1 million checks out the door over the next couple of weeks. So we're still going to keep pushing on that. As I mentioned, looking ahead, looks like we've got already supplemental funding for the CARES Act coming down the pike here from Congress this Thursday, at least through the Senate. For future legislation, we're also working on potentially enacting remote online notarization nationwide. Right now, 23 states allow for it, 27 don't. And so this legislation would enact remote online notarization in those 27 other states, including California, for the duration of the national emergency. Once the emergency ends, those 27 states would then have to enact longer term legislation to allow remote online notarization. But in the interim, enacting this nationwide would at least allow for closings to continue in places where there are these shelter and stay at home orders. And according to our NAR research team, there are about 1.8 million closings in jeopardy on average between now and June. And so hopefully remote online notarization would allow for many of those closings to proceed. And then finally, I just want to make a quick pitch for NAR's Right Tools Right Now initiative that we just launched 2 weeks ago. This program provides for new and existing NAR products and services, either for free or at a significant discount. So that includes webinars to help members manage your finances, education courses, market reports, etc. So that's a pretty big discount that our members should take advantage of. We've also announced last week that all of our members will now be eligible for up to 2 months of free access to members telehealth, which is around the clock virtual access to non-emergency healthcare from more than 2,300 board certified US physicians. So again, that's 2 free months of virtual healthcare being offered through NAR. You just have to register before April 15th. So definitely take advantage of that if you don't already have access to virtual healthcare, so that you can stay home but still take care of yourself in the months ahead. And finally, NAR, like CAR, has launched our own COVID-19 hotline, which is 1-800-874-6500. But again, I would point folks to the CAR coronavirus website, which has amazing informational resources. And they also have a hotline as well, which you can text 24/7, which I think is pretty terrific. So I'll stop there. I know it was a lot of information. If you have questions that I can't answer today, or if there are questions that come up in the weeks ahead, please just go ahead and email me, call me, text me, and I'm here to help.
Thanks, Christian. Really appreciate that. That is absolutely a raft of information. And he said you can contact him direct. We will be posting his email address on this so that you can get in touch with him. We do get routine updates from NAR, and so we look forward to future updates. And as he said, be patient because this is just passed. I talked with our former Senator Jeff Stone yesterday, who's with the Department of Labor now, and he said they're absolutely inundated. And he said that, the problem most people have is that they hear that the federal government has passed a bill and that there's all this money available. Number one, they have to sort out exactly what it says. And number two, the money is not immediately available. The federal government just, in spite of themselves, they just don't work that quickly. So be a little patient. There are fixes in the works. And as that information becomes available from the federal government, from CAR, and from NAR, certainly we will keep you up to date with what's going on. So again, thank you, Christian. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on back there, so thanks for all your efforts keeping us up to date.
You bet. Thanks, everybody. I know I probably missed some questions in the chat box, so feel free to email me those directly. I'm happy to help.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great. So the one thing I missed, though, was that healthcare. Was that from NAR? I can't remember, but.
What are you talking about, healthcare?
He was just talking about the 2 free months of virtual healthcare.
Yes, NAR.
NAR, okay, great. I'm just looking it up right now, by April 15th, so that's next week. Okay, very good. All right, then, thank you. That was, I got no room left on this page with all the wonderful information. Thank you, Gene, for bringing him to us. What a wealth of information that was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Raft of information.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so next we're going to bring up our affiliate, Nikki Rango. Nikki, are you still here with us? There we go. There you go, my love.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you all virtually. Wish I could see you all in person. But real quick, just wanted to make sure everyone's had a chance to see our new brochure. Looks like this. It came out a little over a month ago, so I know I had a chance to make it around to a lot of the offices to change it out. If you haven't had a chance to get your hands on one of the new ones, it is available on our website for download. So feel free to download it directly from the website or reach out to me and I can email it over to you as well. Not a lot of changes. Really, it was just more of a rebranding for us. We made it larger, easier to read. The back page is an awesome overview page now to see the different pricing and packages. We've added outdoor kitchen in there as one of the printed options over here on the optional coverage side. We came out with a combo pack under our Platinum that also includes washer, dryer, fridge for $630. We did not have a price increase, which is huge. Everyone thought we'd have a price increase. Actually, even I thought we'd have a price increase and we didn't. So prices are still the same. Ultimate protection with AC is still $435. Platinum with AC is still $550. And then of course there's the add-ons from there. Our service fee is still $75, so that did not go up at all either. Couple things that we did add as far as coverage goes. In our Platinum, we're now covering $500 on zone controls for the air conditionings, which are really important on the newer energy efficient ones. A lot of them are coming with zone controlling. which before was something home warranty never covered. We now have $500 in coverage for those in the Platinum. And then we are still covering R22 Freon with no dollar limit. It's really, really expensive, over $100 a pound right now, and Old Republic is still covering it with no dollar limit when there's several companies out there that are only paying $10 a pound for the R22. So if you guys have any questions or need anything, I'm still here working. We are deemed essential. However, we do have a limited staff working inside just because our call center is so big. We didn't want that many people together in one area. So we do have a lot of people working from home. So hopefully you guys, that if you're calling in for service, your clients you aren't noticing too much of a delay. Might be slight, but we were deemed essential, so we are able to work with some restrictions. And then our contractors, of course, were deemed essential as well for home repairs and stuff. So we shouldn't be seeing any delays in any type of service. But if you guys need anything special or are, of course, I'm here. Just reach out to me. And I appreciate you guys all and can't wait to see you all in person again. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. That's great information, Nikki, because I got to get some stuff done at my dad's house, and I'm thinking, man, I don't want to bring people out. We'll just wait. It's not urgent. You know what I mean? So we're just waiting. But grateful to know that you're there. Thank you so much. Okay, so since no one else has anything, we're going to adjourn the meeting. But I want to just say thanks to everyone who participates with us today. I know these times are tough, and this is particularly difficult for me since I'm not tech savvy at all. But thank you to the staff of SRCAR. Oh, I'm sorry, Southwest Riverside County Association of Realtors. Okay, Denise? Okay. And so I just appreciate you so much for helping us through these tough times. I walked away from today's meeting with more information than I ever thought I would get. And this is going to help our agents, our clients, another reason for us to reach out and everything else. So having said that, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for coming. And I can't wait to see you next
Bob,
Tuesday.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, is this, I might have missed it, but is this going to be recorded and will it be sent out to us to view later? Yes, okay, thanks, Daniel.
Oh, Daniel
Sorry, I
says
had a
yes.
call.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. That's good.
Yes.
Yay. Your hair looks so adorable.
I want to say, Barbara, you did a fabulous job.
Oh, thank you, Denise. You knew I was nervous because of
I
the
know.
technology. I don't do
Good
technology.
job,
I do
Barbara.
skin to skin, so.
You need to stop saying you don't do technology because you've been doing technology great for as long as I've known you. So
I trip over it. I don't know what happens.
you're
but-
doing good.
All right, kids. will
Barbara?
you-
Oh, no.
Yes.
Don't forget, everybody, to register for the town hall meeting tomorrow.
Yes.
Great updates for the COVID. And thanks again, and be well and be safe. And SRCAR is always here for you guys, okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, honey. All right, everyone be safe.
Bye.
Is that for tomorrow or Wednesday?
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Okay.
Which is tomorrow. Today's
Oh, it is
Tuesday.
tomorrow.
It is tomorrow.
Oh,
It's the
Tomorrow
same.
from 9 to 11.
our
9 to
schedules
11.
are off.
Been at home too long.
That's going to be great. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about, so the guys are going to go over the 4 new contracts for COVID and other things. So it's going to be great. Please, register for it.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
All right, then we'll see you next week, if not before.
Thank you, Miss Barbara.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.